What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one, I'm going to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what the news is saying about Tesla, what happened with some big news coming out that caused Tesla to drop a little bit, and also what's happening with the FOMC meeting for today. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I talk about the data that just came out, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. Putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. Our friends in 5 days. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. As a reminder, Tesla is down in the pre-market, underperforming, but SPY is ripping. Nvidia is a little bit down. Aapl is green. The QQQ is green, and most stocks out there are actually kind of flat or green during the pre-market. So we're kind of mixed right now, but SPY and QQQ are still pushing up. Why is the market still pushing up? Because PPI came out better than expected. PPI is the leading indicator for CPI. It's like CPI except for the producer side. Month over month, PPI was at 0%, better than what the expectations were. Core PPI month over month was at 0%, better than expected. Core PPI year over year was at 2%, so that's lower than expected. And then the PPI year over year was at 0.9%, so lower than expected. What this data means is that wholesale inflation is dropping, and this is a leading indicator for CPI. This suggests that the next CPI that comes out has potential to be as expected or below expectations, which is another good sign for the markets, and that's why the market is pumping. Now, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the 17-week bill auction coming out, and then at 2 o'clock p.m. we have two things. We have the Fed interest rate hike decision coming out, and then we have the FOMC economic projections. The FOMC economic projection is going to be more important because the Fed is going to tell us what they're going to anticipate for any cuts, with rate hikes in the future and how things are looking. That's going to be very important, so watch for that very carefully. And with the rate hike decision, I think the Fed is going to likely pause. There's a 98% chance of that. Then we have the press conference at 2:30 p.m. when Jerome Powell gives his speech. So make sure you guys are prepared for that. Expect some high volatility when he talks. He tends to move the market like crazy. Futures are up a bit as the market's excited. Just for a couple pieces of news real quick. The market's building momentum, which is very, very good. We have the Fed meeting, like I just mentioned, as Jerome Powell is going to be speaking. Crude is reawakening because we're starting to see 200 nations meeting at the UN, and they're going to be working to move away towards fossil fuels, making new deals for climate change. This is some big news right now. We'll see how this affects crude. We're still continuing to see it fall, but we'll see if anything heats up from there. It took many years, but Netflix is finally giving a more detailed look at its viewership data. So that's some good news if anyone's interested in that. And then that's pretty much it that I'm going to be talking about when it comes to news. Now for Tesla, we had two negative pieces of news that came out this morning. A software update needs to be pushed to over 2 million cars following an investigation by the NHTSA into a series of collisions with the self-driving technology. So some articles are saying this is a massive recall. If you consider this a recall for Tesla, you could, but this is not like a typical recall for any cars because this is just an over-the-air software update that's going to be used to fix over 2 million cars. But some headlines are saying it's a 2 million car recall, and this is part of why Tesla is just kind of like underperforming. This is technically some negative news, and this is leading to some doubts, and that's why Tesla's down. We also had more bad news that came out. Tesla loses the 7,500 consumer tax credits for some Model 3 vehicles. I did talk about this in an earlier video. It's going to start on December 31st. Under the Inflationary Reduction Act. And this has to do with, I believe, new battery sourcing restrictions that are taking place because of where Tesla ends up sourcing its batteries and such. So some will lose their credits by about half for some models of the Model 3. Others may lose the whole thing, and others could be reduced starting on December 31st. So that's some big news. This is part of why Tesla is down. There's also news from Bernstein saying Tesla could drop to 150 a share. Other analysts were saying that Tesla has demand issues. Lots of bad news was coming out, which is why Tesla's underperforming. Now, Tesla looks to me like it may make an attempt to go a little higher towards 236 before it rejects. So we could see a little pop here, just a small one like this. It might try to go a little higher as we open, but then there might be a rejection as Powell gives his speech down here in this channel. Watch support at 233. If we lose that, watch this 231 zone. Then if it comes back up towards the end of the day, we could see it close very close to where we are, a little bit in the red. But overall, I see Tesla respecting this channel, downtrending a bit as we have bad news. And in order for us to turn bullish, I need to see Tesla get above the 30 minutes 200 EMA, back above 240 basically. If we get above 240, then that's when it can start pushing back up to the normal levels. As long as we're below it, especially like 238 to 240, as long as we're below that range, we're going to be a little bit more in favor of the bears. And that's not because of the market. It has more to do with some bad news coming out for Tesla, the news about the software, over-the-air software updating it to fix over 2 million cars, the bad news about all these things with the downgrades from analysts, demand issues and such. So unfortunately, guys, with the bad news coming out, Tesla's underperforming again, so watch and possibly continue to respect this downwards channel. All right. Now, as far as SPY goes, I just want to mention that SPY has been uptrending very, very nicely. We could see another push to the upside all the way up to this 466 area. 466 is a potential target on SPY because I just want to mention that SPY is still, holding up nicely. We have a wick at 465.75. And on the 4-hour time frame, it looks bullish. It's continuing to push up. It could push a little bit higher and get very close to 466. But then when Jerome Powell gives his speech, sometimes, not always, but sometimes the market does sell off a bit, then come back up. Not saying that that will happen, since I can't really predict what will happen when he gives his speech, but I will tell you that there's a warning I have. Sometimes when he gives his speeches, the market kind of sells off and bounces. So just be very careful with Powell's speech. Once again, at 2:30 p.m. is when Powell starts his speech, so look for a pop and drop like move on SPY. We could see something very similar to that. On the QQQ, you might see something similar. This thing is at 400 at this resistance. Could go a little higher. We have the next resistance at 402, then 404 as key levels. 400 is, we have some resistance in this range. Then we have support at this yellow trend line at 398, then 396.5, and 394. So it is possible it pops a little bit more, but we might see it kind of like shop up here in the 400s, maybe go a little higher. Then Jerome Powell could cause a little like drop down to like 398, if not 397.5 before we bounce back up. So we'll see if Jerome Powell causes anything. But for now, that's what I'm seeing for the QQQ. It's still holding up nicely. Nvidia is at resistance. We'll see how Nvidia reacts to this level. It is starting to reject here. I had this drawn out yesterday thinking it could pop more, then come back down. For now, we'll be watching to see if NVIDIA could form like a flag and try to pop up to 480 and then reject, or if it just ends up rejecting from here and it just starts dropping. Right now, it looks a little weak. Make sure you watch support around this 471 area, 468, and this blue trend line at 465. Resistance, watch 480 and 482. Now, it could actually retrace a little bit back down to 468 or so and then try to bounce. Maybe it goes a little bit lower and then bounces. But for now, NVIDIA is looking a little bit weak. We'll be watching to see if we're forming like a flag here. It might cool off just a little bit. That's going to be completely fine. And to be bullish, you want to see it break and hold above this high right here, this wick right here, get back above 478 to start filling this imbalance. So far, it has not done so. Although it is respecting an uptrend, watch and see how it holds. Now, if we get a big rejection thanks to Jerome Powell, hypothetically, not saying it will happen, watch this blue trend line. Do we retest this and then bounce off of it? That's another possibility. As of right now, we'll see what Jerome Powell causes. If he does cause a downside move, don't expect the market to crash. Sometimes it drops then pops. It's very tricky sometimes. With that being said, for Apple, I was calling yesterday it's going to come up to fill this gap. It's basically doing that so far. Watch 196 to about 195 basically and see how it reacts to that area. I just want to mention that if we manage to break out, watch this resistance, see if it rejects and retraces towards 195, if not 194.4. Before it bounces, this rejection could come during Jerome Powell's speech, so just be very careful, and a bounce could come after that. Watch resistance at 196 to 197, watch support at 195, 194.4, then 193.5. Watch those levels on Apple, guys. Do what you have to do, and I'll definitely see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. I hope you guys enjoyed this pre-market update video and get ready for FOMC in a couple of hours. Thank you again and peace out.